Hello, welcome to the Nick's Boots from Start to Finish podcast. My name is Shuyler Mao. I'm joined here by
Grant Pemberton
and Lucas Grassberger.
Thank you so much for joining me today, guys, and also listener, thanks for tuning in. We are going to go through volume 7 of the Q&A format. So yeah, let's get right to it. Question number 1: what is the state of the splitter? I'm getting some nice matching tongues with boots. Well, we actually have more than one splitter now, which is pretty cool. The matching tongues, we are experimenting with them on maybe an elevated line because it's pretty difficult to get them to work from a kind of a folding over standpoint, something we're not as experienced with. So we are working on that. I would expect to see some matching tongue options available in some form in the next few months. Anyone got any disagreements on that?
No, it wasn't a splitter issue. It was a leather issue. The leather's not staked. You know, if you just take the Chrome XL and you split it, it's still pretty stiff and boardy. But the splitter the new one's pretty amazing. It's like it can cut right through it. So it's really finding a gusset material that is comfortable.
Well, we have that, but how do you get it to match everything, right?
Right. To do it right, you'd probably have to get the same color but staked from the tannery or softened,
Which is pretty substantial investment.
Yeah.
So
yep.
I don't know. It's something we're working on,
Yeah,
but
some leathers work well.
Hope to get that going. Grant, can you give an update on the 55 wedge sole option?
Yes, it is. It's on my desk, waiting to be put on Andrew's feet. So we're very optimistic about it. I don't want to give too many details, but the 55 is not designed for a wedge. So we got a little bit creative with it, and I think it's gonna be a head turner.
Yeah.
It's going to be a head turner.
It's a little different approach from what else is out there, right?
That's right.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm pretty excited for it. I think this is probably one of the projects we went back and forth on the most, of really trying to nail down a solution and
we tried
going back to the
3
drawing
different
board.
things.
Yeah. But I'm pretty excited with what we came up with. I think it was
I think we had to kind of step back and say, what is the customer actually asking? Are they asking for a wedge sole on a 55? Or are they asking for a wedge-soled boot that has the arch support that's in our 55s? And I think we kind of went back to the drawing board and came up with something that I think is going to hit it out of the park. Quite frankly, I don't think a wedge should be on a 55 with the heel-to-toe drop. People are doing it. It looks funny. We did it. It looked funny. It felt funny. And so what we got cooking, I'm super optimistic.
Yeah, there's a different way to approach it. So optimistic and hopeful that is something that resonates with the customers.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Hot Shots, Builder Pros, and Urban Loggers? Pretty succinctly, the Hot Shot comes with the Red X sole, along with it's not fireproof stitching, but it is self-extinguishing, and so if it does catch on fire, it doesn't go all the way, following the thread. And then the Builder Pro is kind of a Hot Shot without those options largely, and then is offered probably with a wider range of options to fit, a wider variety of purposes like a lineman patch or that sort of thing. An Urban Logger is generally shorter. I don't know if I've seen a ton of 10-inch Urban Loggers. And also is made available in our heritage leathers, your CXLs, your Wicked and Craigs, Dublins,
On display right here.
You name it.
There you go. Yeah.
Waxed flushes. Yeah. But that's really it. Urban Logger, heritage leather, Builder Pro, doesn't have the fire protection. Hot Shots do.
Yeah. It's funny when we're training people in customer service, teaching people new models. Basically, we start with everything's a Builder Pro. And then here's how it's the variation of a Builder Pro. And so the Hot Shot is the NFPA version of the Builder Pro. The Urban Logger is the more dressy, casual version of the Builder Pro. a little bit more, casual leathers, a little bit shorter top, but
You gotta change that though now. Like the Chelsea.
I know, we've
and
differentiated
the
so
Roper
much.
boots
Yeah.
and the Palouse and even the tacticals. The Sierra wedge soles are not offered on as many of those.
But for a lot of these boots, the guts are still pretty much the same, especially with these 3 models.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Why does the sock liner only go halfway to the toe in the footbed? Wouldn't making it full length solve the very occasional problem of the liner peeling up?
Yeah. Part of the issue is, our insole is built into the boot. It's nailed in with clinch nails. To put that sock liner in, we glue it down at the last step. Trying to glue a full length sock liner in there. We have done it on occasion per requests, but it can get a little messy. There's a chance of getting glue all over the inside of the boot. That is actually, I think we talked about that a bit when we were talking about the 55 wedge program.
Yeah, I mean, it can be done. It's hard.
Yeah.
And we don't have the dies. We don't have insole dies.
Right.
So if you had insole dies, you could click out the exact footprint of every last, and you wouldn't even have to glue it in. You could just drop one in. Like our leather insoles. Our leather insoles are sold in kind of generic sizing, but they work well. But it is very tricky to get a half sock liner in with the glue on it. I know from experience. And then when you ask them to do a full sock liner caked with glue, they pretty much fold it into a taco. They maneuver it into the shoe without trying to get glue everywhere. And it's hand cut because we don't have the dies. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of validity to the question. Things are still going to peel if they're glued, but the reason why it only goes halfway is you've only got nails going to the edge of the sock liner through the bottoming process.
Yeah, I would just say, like, it's just not something we've done a lot of. It doesn't, you make a decision to make a boot a certain way. It's not necessarily the right or the wrong answer. But it's a good question. I do think you may see some more fully lined products from us coming up in the next couple months. Yeah. But they're going to be more expensive just because it is quite a bit more labor intensive for us to do it that way. So how does a resole work with Stitchdown Construction? When you guys stitch the uppers to the sole, does the cobbler hit the old holes? How many resoles can a sole have before you need to do a rebuild? Yeah, so ideally the cobbler would hit the old holes. It's not, that's hard to do. It takes some skill. I do think like a non-stitched through boot, it's less problematic because you don't have to stitch through the vamp or the welt, and you can basically just peel off the glued sole and replace it. So something to think about kind of like long term. But on the work boot side for years, like I would say the resoles can be, not maybe, they don't hit all the holes. So there can be kind of, evidence of that. On the heritage side, we actually will try very hard and also, prefer to kind of just glue the sole on rather than stitching through again because it can get a little messy, which is obviously a little more important with the heritage side of the business. There are no videos of a rebuild on a 360. I don't think we've done one yet.
Yeah, they haven't been around long enough to need a rebuild yet, I think is the main thing.
But I don't think it would be any more or less difficult now that, if I think about it. Yeah. So no, it should be the same, very much the same. How many resoles can a shoe have before you need to do a rebuild?
I think that really depends on like the overall condition of the boots, the kind of sole. Like to your point, like wedge soles, we don't really have to restitch them. You can just peel that wedge sole off, glue a new one on. It's stitched through the midsole and the slip sole, but not through the outsole. So a lot of times we don't have to mess with that much.
But I would generally say like 3.
Yeah, I'd say that's
like
a good
3 is in a very general sense. What's the most difficult leather to work with? Probably double stuffed Wicked and Craig.
It's interesting. I've realized every department kind of has a different answer to these questions. But I guess I don't know that anyone really loves double stuffed.
I would say double stuff
Probably
because
double
you get
stuff. Yeah.
the difficulty in lasting because it's so stiff, and also you have to be extra careful with it in sole stitching to avoid abrasions, or we use like oil to basically lubricate the needle, and you have to be careful with that and use like just the right amount so that it doesn't kind of spray stuff. The least difficult leather,
I think that one's tougher because
I don't know.
sewing doesn't love work leather because it's stiff, similar to double stuff. I know lasting, they love
They like the 64s.
Yeah, the 64s and some of the heritage leathers because
Yep.
it's so easy to last. And then I think after bottoming, heritage leathers aren't great because they show marks so much easier than work leather. I know you ask like Mikey or anyone in sanding, they love work leather because you can accidentally nick it with the sander or something and it doesn't even show.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah, because there's like downsides. If it's like leather that's soft, that's lasting's gonna like, it's gonna be tougher to sole stitch because there's like more rebound, and so it can get a little less consistent in terms of so the operator just has to be more kind of mindful. So yeah, there are generally kind of pros and cons, but definitely the most difficult I'm gonna say is the double stuff.
Yeah.
What kinds of process improvements have you guys made recently? We've always tracked, like from a QC standpoint, who worked on what, but we're now like recording it, I would say, and sending it actually out to the customer, which is kind of an interesting thing. So you'll get like basically a QC form that we use that kind of shows like every step in the process and an initial from each person that worked on it, which we then, we record before sending out. We've also improved some of our gluing capabilities on like soles, like basically something we had to do because of the Sierra sole that's been kind of rolled out to other areas. And I don't know, what else? Anything you guys can think of?
I mean, we've done a lot in terms of the QC standards, like that traveler ticket you're talking about. That also kind of added a system of checking work throughout production. So, the sewer will check the work of the cutter, lasters will check the work of
which already happened.
Yeah, absolutely. But now it's like recorded.
I feel like we're documenting it better.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's that, and then in terms of QC, I mean, we're working on more clearly defined visual standards right now. So putting photos at each station of like, this is outside of QC, this is within QC, which again, we've kind of established before, but now actually having those visual standards clearly defined. And we even have a more kind of digital system in the back for when something gets stopped and needs to be worked on, of tracking all of that data, really just to make sure that like, mistakes are going to happen, but to make sure if a mistake happens, we catch it and we fix it before it goes to a customer.
Yep. Well, and also I would say we've done a better job tracking returns, which are kind of surprisingly low for I think the kind of business that we're in. But what I would say, we have more granularity on the reason codes for why things are coming back, which kind of now we can go back and track. Like, I think we've seen a significant improvement in our sanding, which was something that I wouldn't say it was bad, but like, definitely, had some variation in it. And so now we've been able to kind of quantify it and be like, okay, this is kind of what we need to do to address that.
I think general leather tracking, we've gotten a lot better at too this year. I mean, we're
demand tracking.
Yeah.
It sounds stupid, but like, it was kind of hard in the past for us to like have a very tight understanding of how much leather we had and how many orders we had out for it, and like what the consumption was on it, because it varies a decent amount by hide. So we've gotten a lot tighter with that. And so now, like, I know like sometimes some of you guys will unfortunately get notified like, hey, we miscalculated. It's almost always a consumption issue, and sometimes there's like variance between even shipments. But for the most part, I think we've gotten a lot better at knowing, hey, when do we need to have this thing here, and how many people are waiting on it.
Yeah, and I think in the past it was, we're completely out. Oh no, let's contact customers. And now we're sending out hey, by the way, based on our numbers, by the time we get to your order, which might be 3 months from now, we might be low or might be out. So we're just sending you an email to let you know now. And so it's giving us a little more time to kind of get on top of things, let the customer be informed so that their lead time's not set back.
Yeah.
That's part of like the Cutter's Choice program too, kind of that same idea of like making sure if we run out, it's not setting your lead time back, but we're giving you the option ahead of time. So we're not sitting on your order for 2-3 more weeks.
Grant, can you take a stab at this one? What are some construction challenges unique to the Western pull-ons?
Yeah, I think side welting is something that's was new to us. So it took us some time to kind of develop that methodology, the right thread, the right needle, the right machine. So that was something that, took some time, but we got it pretty well dialed in.
Are you guys hiring for any tech roles? Good question. It's actually like a kind of a hot button topic here. Maybe is the short answer to that. We know, we're not, it's not our area of expertise. And so it's definitely something we're looking at. I think the question is like, do we outsource it? Do we insource it? We've been outsourcing that stuff for a long time and not like, it's fine, but it's not like, as responsive as you'd like it to be. And maybe as intimately familiar with the needs of the business as you like it to be. So we're definitely kind of considering that as we've grown. What do we need to get better at internally? And, what are the skill sets we need to bring on to accomplish that for sure? What are some upcoming colors for waxed flesh? We did black.
Yeah,
recently.
we just put one in for photos. So lots of feedback from the Carl Morawski collab. People wanted black waxed flesh. So we're ordering more of that. And we I did a 8-inch urban logger, black gunmetal hardware. Looks great. So that's coming out. I don't know. Do we have anything in the works for any other waxed flesh?
I have a navy waxed flesh sample coming in that we'll check out. I think, we're working on I won't say it. We're working on another color that I think will be super awesome. More traditional, but, in terms of the color palettes, but definitely a differentiated offering from what we have right now.
That's news to me.
Yeah, well, I was just at Horween last week.
Oh, right. Yeah. You just visited.
And actually asked the subreddit for like what leathers they might want to see. And there were some really good suggestions there. And so actually it was great meeting with them. And I think you guys will be excited about some of the stuff that'll be coming out. Yeah.
We have a roll of is it olive waxed flesh? That sample we got in a while ago. It's sitting back there somewhere.
That's interesting.
I'm not a huge fan of green boots, but I thought it looked pretty good.
Huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah, big fan of the wax flesh in general. I love your boots and channel. Why doesn't Nix use horse leathers? Horse butt overlanders, and I'd be all over it. We did do some runs with Merriam. It's been a while, like a year and a half or so. The yields are bad, frankly. They're even worse than Wicked and Craig. And it's a very difficult leather to work with. It's extremely inelastic, which causes some issues for us. And so I do think it's something you'll see from us coming up, but I think the pricing might be a little scary because I don't think we adequately factored in what the actual yield per hide was when we did it. And so it was not, like a super profitable offering.
There'll be some cool wallets.
For sure.
Well, and even the horse, we dabbled in horse strip, which I think is just ahead of the horse butt. And it was a yield issue or even a sizing issue. They're like 8 inches wide and then just getting them to match. I mean, I have a pair from a long time ago, but I mean, you were paying a lot for horse strip and not getting very much boot out of it. And then there was a lot of inconsistency in the coloring. So when you're dyeing a whole hide, 20 square feet, you can get a lot of consistency. When you're dyeing strips, there's variation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I think you'll see some horse offerings from us either under Nix or maybe under one of our upcoming sub brands that but they're going to be pricey. It's just an expensive leather, and it's expensive to work with, and expensive to yield and get it, because the yields, obviously you want it to be kind of perfect for the customer.
Yeah.
Which we definitely pride ourselves on. Another run of charcoal cypress. I don't know. What do you think?
It was popular.
Yeah, it was really popular.
I think it was one of the quickest selling limited runs we've done, except for maybe Peanut Bison, because that's a kind of a classic now. But yeah, I mean, people love it.
I did talk to Horween about some different colors of cypress, because I think it's a great leather.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, maybe we kind of do with charcoal cypress like we do with the Peanut Bison, and do a couple limited runs per year or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think, part of it is it's a pretty new, like, tannage, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think people are excited about that.
Cypress is interesting. Like, so we have Dublin, and Dublin is very difficult to work with for the opposite reason from Wicket. It's a veg tan, but Horween's approach to veg tan is very different than Wicket's. So whereas Wicket might be in like the low teens from an oil content standpoint, Horween's going to be in the not quite double, but close to double that. And so they just take a different approach. And so that basically Dublin, it means it's extremely stretchy and almost too stretchy. And it's difficult for lasting, to not overstretch it. But it's a great leather, once you kind of get it all situated. So Cypress was a reaction to that. So it's still a combo tan. It's a combo tan. It's not a veg tan. But it's supposed to have maybe some of the ideal characteristics that Dublin has in a firmer kind of temper. And so I think it's a great leather and a really great job by Horween. What are you wearing right now? Oh my gosh. Like, very,
nice jacket.
Very prescient question.
Yeah.
This is a new leather jacket that we will be releasing here
very soon.
Very soon. And it'll be in our leathers, 64 brown.
Yep.
Like the quintessential Knicks boots color. And we'll be partnering with Heat Straps to make it. And it's going to be awesome, man. It's a super, super, super nice jacket. And I hope you buy some, listener. I hope you buy a lot. I hope you buy a lot.
Early access email.
I think going out,
it'll go out today.
Will have gone out already by the time you're listening to this. Yeah.
Keep subscribing to the emails to get a sneak peek and get early access. I think I'm not a leather jacket guy, but this jacket, I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same kind of, heat straps, chief coat cut with a couple modifications. This is a prototype.
Yeah.
I think the final version's coming like tomorrow. So it's going to be pretty sweet.
And it's be 64 brown, so you don't have to baby it like a lot of leather jackets. You can work in it.
Yeah, and if you're curious, it is fairly warm. Yes, in fact. So
was it 90 degrees out today?
Great.
It's 93. It's 93.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be prototyping it. In my truck with no AC.
That's right.
On your way home.
That's right.
So we'll swap cars just to make sure it breathes well.
Like how last year we pioneered boots and shorts, and this year it's leather jackets and shorts.
That's right.
Is that the?
Yeah. I don't know.
It's wool lined. We won't say too much about the wool. Keep it hidden. But it's a wool lined jacket. It's gonna be fantastic. You'd be dumb not to buy this jacket.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be limited quantities, so collector item for sure.
Yep.
Grant, Lucas, thank you so much for your knowledge.
Of course.
Always a pleasure. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. As always, please leave us a review and a rating wherever you're listening, Apple, Google, etc., wherever it may be. Thanks for listening, guys. We will talk to you in a week or so.
Yep.
Bye.
Thanks.